Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Sedona International Film Festival, where we're celebrating our 30th anniversary. And we'd like to thank our sponsors, Northern Arizona Healthcare, all the restaurateurs, the hotels, all the sponsors that have participated in this year's festival. We really appreciate your support. And joining me now, I've been looking forward to this interview for the whole weekend, and I couldn't wait for it. But I'd like to introduce to you Amy and Ray. And they're with the film 7,000 Miles and also Amy's film The Surrogate. Great. So we got a really big treat on Saturday evening. We watched the film 7,000 Miles. Wendy Malick was here, along with the cast and crew. Ray was also in that film. And so it's such a great pleasure to have you sitting right here in our media room.
It's such a pleasure to be here. It really is. You know, we were talking before we came on, and I was joking that I've brought Ray because Wendy is working as we speak on Young Sheldon, and Lexi was off. And I thought, but Ray is my emotional support actor, and that's what he was on the set. The one thing that I hope comes across in 7,000 Miles is this sense of family and extended family. And as we were piecing together the expats, Wendy said, "Oh my God, I have this dear friend who's this brilliant actor, and let's see if we can get him to come." And then
they called me on a Wednesday. Could you be in Hawaii on Friday?
And you
read
said
the script,
no.
Hawaii. I said, which island? I'm very. If I go to Hawaii, I'm very picky. Also, film festivals. I'm very picky where film festivals I go to.
I
so Sedona, you know.
I know, and you don't want to leave.
It's
I know.
location.
That's what he could say, because I said, I'm not making a film without this whole group. It became such an ensemble. We were living together in the house that's a character in the movie, and it's really about a mother and a grandmother. Alexandra Dove plays the granddaughter, and Wendy Malick, the grandmother. And, you know, it's a story about family and extended family and
chosen family.
And chosen family, right. And so we became each other's chosen family. The other night we were having dinner after our screening, and we were all laughing, and somebody came up to Ray and said, "This is the happiest table."
Yeah, he said, "I've never seen such a happy table," you know, and, you know, I've gone out with my family and it's happy, but I've never seen one this happy. And I said, "We're not family." That might be the reason. But you know, it always sounds like a cliche, you know, we really are like family. But, well, Wendy and I have known each other for decades, and there's so many, and Max and Juliet Mills, Maxwell Caulfield and Juliet Mills. Interestingly enough, in the 80s, I was on a series called Dynasty, where I played Fallon's boyfriend, and Max was Fallon's boyfriend before I came on the show, but we had never met till we met in Hawaii, even though we were lovers of the same woman on Dynasty in the 80s, but we just met now, and now we've just become terrific
and within seconds,
friends.
And you know, that's the sort of, there's a Yiddish word, beshert, but that the magical quality of both Hawaii and how this project came together. Alexandra had come to me with the basic script and the idea and said, "Would you be willing to direct this and make it your own?" And I was in the middle of editing The Surrogate, the film you saw, and had Wendy in my head, and I said, only if I could have Wendy, who plays Amelia Earhart, because it's about a granddaughter and a grandmother and Amelia Earhart. And Wendy read it and said yes. And then when we needed her best friend, Wendy said, "You know who would be great?" And they'd been on what were they on? Hot in Cleveland together, she and Juliet Mills.
Oh, Juliet Mills, right.
And so she said, "But I don't know, there's no money, it's a small budget." She calls Juliet Mills, and Juliet said, "Oh, darling, I'd love to, but we're on vacation in Hawaii." And Wendy said, "Where?" And she said,
"Oahu."
Oahu.
She's on the same island.
Yeah.
They were vacationing on the same island while we were shooting.
They were miles away from where we were shooting. So, and then we said, "Oh, and can Max play Wendy's husband?" So that was the beginning of us all becoming a beautiful family. Wendy would make us martinis at the end of every night.
Well, you know, I want to talk to you about like just the energy that you have, but you and Wendy are past sister-in-laws.
Yes,
right?
we are. Well, as I like to say, so Wendy and I knew each other as sisters, as sister-in-laws, when she was married to my brother, screenwriter Mitch Glazer, who was also an angel on this project and helped to finesse a lot, including the title. But he was the one that came up with 7,000 Miles. But when they got divorced, we didn't. And they're good friends as well. But she and I, and then we worked together on a play, on a workshop of a Rebecca Gilman play in LA. And that's when we realized, that we spoke the same language. There was an intuition and a style of working that just meshed really beautifully. And so when I decided to do The Surrogate and I needed a mother-in-law, I really wrote that character for Wendy and said, will you do it? And in between, because as you say, she's the busiest
She never
actress,
stops working. It's
works
kind of
all the
ridiculous.
time.
I mean, she's supposed to be here today, but they needed her back in LA for
Young Sheldon.
Young Sheldon.
So she flew in because she's my sister. And again, we had such fun. And she said, God, there's so much joy on your sets. And I do think that that's, if there's a secret to good directing, it's creating that petri dish where everybody feels listened to. And speaking of listen to, okay, so when we got Ray to come, he had literally one line in the script. He was just one of the friends, and that wasn't going to work.
No.
So he started creating this character and this backstory, which they all did as these expats who had found each other and had kept Amelia Earhart's secret. Even though it's is she, isn't she, because she's also suffering from Lewy body dementia. So you don't really know until the end. But he wrote some of the funniest lines in the film. He should be doing stand-up. That's what I keep saying.
No, he is funny. Right before we even started, we were just like, it was like a comedic routine or something here. But I will tell you, last night when I saw you at Seven Canyons, like the energy that you carry, I don't know what it is. Like I was watching you like through the room, and there's energy like with your whole cast, right? And so when I came up to you to say hello, just to say, hey, I'm going to see you tomorrow, when you turned around, first I have to say this, because if anybody meets Ray, you have to look at his eyes. He has the most beautiful blue eyes ever.
Oh, they're my mother's eyes.
Yeah.
If she finds out I have them, she'll kill me.
I know. And he's Italian, so
Yeah.
you know what? It's like kumbats.
And if you ever watch The Sopranos, you know that he's Little Carmine.
And I wasn't going to say anything because when he walked in, he said that was like me in the past. So
Yeah,
Oh, no,
Okay,
please.
good.
No, I tell everybody.
I tell everybody.
I tell
good.
everybody,
That
especially.
was what our Sopranos had here today. You could be proud. I've been working
Yes.
for a long time, and there's certain jobs that you're proud of, and that was just such an iconic show, and I'm just grateful to have been a part of it. And we just had our 25th anniversary party in New York
gosh.
a couple of weeks ago.
That is
25 years.
crazy. I know. It's like,
know.
it seems like it was yesterday.
It's
it doesn't
been off
seem
the
like.
air for 17 years.
I know, that is crazy.
And people still talk about it like it was,
No,
Yeah.
that is.
Very lucky to be a part of that show. For
Yeah.
Sure.
And
But,
you're.
but when you're in a show like that, to survive, you become an ensemble player, and that's what we had on the set. So.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite scene actually is the scene where they're all sitting around playing cards,
Yeah.
and Juliet has this gorgeous line about it takes a village to raise a child, and we're your village, and that's the core, I think, of what I hope to say with that story, and it's really at the core of The Surrogate, even though The Surrogate is, much a different tone, obviously, and more language-driven, and a much different rhythm in the way I edited it. It's a very different film, but if you look at the unifying connection, it's about family and extended family and what best friends mean to us.
Yeah, we do have a trailer, so let's take a look at the clip and then we'll talk some more.
We're looking for our pilot.
And you found her.
Excuse me, we have a problem.
Understand. Scott,
Could have convinced them, Richard.
we'll make it happen.
Hello?
Joel, it's your grandfather.
How are you, Graham?
Well, Bert's dead, so not so good.
Millie's mind isn't what it used to be.
Visual hallucinations may be the first signs of symptoms.
There is nothing wrong with you. I've been on the mainland so long, I hardly recognize you.
He's how old is now?
Zach? Davey's little brother. Wow.
MIT graduate, pilot's license.
People on the mainland think that all pilots should be men.
Who's your boss? He doesn't know how good you fly?
It's complicated. people don't want to fly with a girl.
If women waited for the right time, nothing would ever change.
There's a pilot like you.
Yeah. She swears she was in a plane crash. Would there be a record of that?
I don't think we should leak this outside of the family.
There is more to life than being a passenger. Well, it's true.
Back in the day, you used to follow her and Davy around.
What?
I thought you was chasing your big brother, but maybe you're chasing her.
If you're Amelia Earhart, it means I was meant to do this.
And if I'm not who you think I am, you're not meant to do this? I have lived the sweetest life here with your grandfather and all of you. This is a life worth celebrating. Don't have regrets, Joan.
I won't. Someone has an important journey to complete.
There's a saying, it takes a village to raise a child. And we're your village.
You're stuck with us. I never saw that.
You know,
It's lovely.
it is. It's a beautiful film. I love the film. He did such a great job with it.
Well,
really.
we were saying, Max and I, we were all sitting together watching it the other night, and I'd seen it once before, but for some reason here, we all got emotional at the same spots in the movie. It was quite, it was moving.
Yeah.
You did a good job there.
Thank you.
I think what's cool, Amy, is that, watching this film, watching The Surrogate, we kind of briefly touched on this last night, was that I feel like it's a message too, like you have an inside message into the storyline that you have inserted, as well as Lexi, because Lexi is a huge supporter of women. I think I read, like when I was doing some research on her, that she wants to work with a production crew that has 50% women involved in it, which makes a statement as well as in the film, right? Because that's really what the underlying
Absolutely.
tone was.
And actually, my last 3 films have all been given the reframe stamp, which is a stamp that says that at least 50% of behind the scenes and in front of the scenes is women and people of color. And I think that's one of the things that bonded me and Lexi when we first began this project, when she brought it to me, was our commitment to telling female-driven stories. And in fact, going back to The Surrogate, when I was, adapting that, with the writer from the play, you just do what you do. You make a gynecologist, in my mind, a woman, because I go to a female, so you have all these characters. And we were doing the scene where the husband kind of gets caught sort of looking at some videos of the young girl, which, by the way, you can watch this on, that does have distribution with Leomark Studios, and so you can watch it on Amazon Prime and a lot of streaming services. But at that moment, he has to go, wait, I'm the only guy here. And I pulled him aside and I said, are you all right? Louis Osawa, a wonderful actor. And he said, yeah, but I am the only guy here in this whole movie. And I went, no, you're not. And he went, yeah, I am. And all of a sudden, I realized that without even thinking about it, I hadn't cast any men parts. I mean, anytime I had a choice, I just went with women because I'm a woman and that's my world. And I realized that's what's been happening with men in the film industry for so many years. Right? For so many years, they're telling their stories. And their stories, they don't go to female doctors is often, they go to male. So until we give women the ability to tell stories, we're not going to have these kind of women-centered narratives.
Yes, absolutely. So what is your next film that you're working on?
I have 2 projects that I'm working on, and one of them I can't really talk about yet, but I'm hoping it comes to fruition. And the other is a strange, haunting mystery, actually, called A Man Walked Into a Hardware Store. So we'll see what happens.
Maybe I'll work in the paint department.
The whole way through, I kept saying, I think you could play the man. I think you're... But you know what happens when you have an ensemble, sort of like John Cassavetes and his world with Jenna Rollins and Richard Brenna, when you find an ensemble of actors who work with you so intuitively and where you have developed a shorthand, it's nice to keep going. It's just, because it's so much fun to make movies. to tell stories.
Absolutely. And then just to have the friendship that, like you
Right.
said, and family. You know who you can depend on.
Right.
You know who's going to deliver what you need them to deliver.
But also
So-
telling the story, just that Juliet and Wendy already had a relationship.
Right,
You know, so
right.
from the first day of shooting, you feel it there. And Wendy and I
Right.
have known each other for
Ever,
decades. And
yeah.
So all that just saves you time. And,
Right.
And we collaborative. I mean, Wendy was a major producing effort. Response to the film. So yes, she was in it, but she and I worked on scenes and dialogue together. You know, the casting, nothing. She was such a support, and I always knew if I was equivocating and I went to Wendy, whatever she landed with was exactly what was in my heart. So it took away a lot of stress having colleagues that you could collaborate with, as well as Lexi and I collaborated on everything together. So it was very much, in fact, sometimes I would say, okay, take off your producer hat. I need you to be an actress today, right? I need you to. So it was, wearing many hats. We all did.
I think it's interesting too because I believe in the Q&A when they were talking, Lexi basically said as a producer she wanted to produce this, but she wanted to be an actress and couldn't find the roles that would hire her, so she produced her own film so that she could actually be in it. So how easy, difficult do you find getting roles? Hard, easy? What's your take on?
The industry has changed. I've
Yes.
been doing this, I think this is my 45th year in SAG. So, but the industry has just changed so much. There's no personal relationships anymore. Auditions are done with these self-tapes. You do it on your
Zoom.
phone. And so you have no feedback with a director or a casting director or a producer or a writer that says, just try that again. It just doesn't exist. And like I said, there's no relationships, no feedback. So it's much harder, actually. I wouldn't want to be starting now. I'm glad I'm kind of in the last chapter and people know me or they don't know me, and I'll get the job or I won't.
But I have to say, the thing that I first was most impressed with when Alexandra contacted me was the fact that she was doing what I've been telling my students as a professor of film and theater to do for years, which is be proactive. Don't wait for someone to find the right part for you. Create it, find it, take out your phone and make a sizzle reel, and so that kind of proactive approach, I think, is exactly how the next generation of filmmakers.
And we experienced that
that
much
last
yesterday.
night, yes.
I went to the
Right.
Shorts Festival last night, and as it turns out, one of the young women, and her name was Riley Anspa. I knew her father back in the early '80s, and I was on an episode of Touched by an Angel, and she was maybe 2 years old, and the camera operator had her do the tape measure right up for my close-up. And I remember how sweet that was, that he was holding her and she held the tape measure for my close-up, and then I come here and she's got a film here
And
that
it's a
she
good
wrote
film.
and directed, and she starred in. It's called Chauncey.
With her boyfriend.
And it's so...
Oh, I saw the film.
Yeah,
That's
It's
really
so
cute.
delightful.
And
But
that's-
the last time I saw her, she was maybe a year and 2 years old.
Oh my
So
goodness.
I do think that is exactly what he's saying is the
Yes.
new wave
Yeah.
of filmmakers. Is
This
that
boyfriend and girlfriend, they wrote that
And they
together,
wrote it
and
together,
it's a beautiful
and I'll
little
tell
film.
you,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have cast them together, but the chemistry was so amazing.
Yeah.
And of course, afterwards, when I heard they were boyfriend and girlfriend, and that's how The Surrogate was too. The Surrogate, I've been directing theater in the Bay Area for so many years, and so many of my actor friends were in it. They all were, basically, all my favorite actors, as well as Erin Daniels and Catherine Smith McGlynn and Louis Osawa. But it was just this gorgeous cast of actors also. Oh, and Jennifer Mudge, who I directed in my first film, and they all came together, the same thing, the same ensemble. And when Wendy came in, she didn't know any of them, but within seconds, and Tate, the young girl.
She's terrific.
She's fabulous. But within moments, they were all so connected and dancing together because they were all the same kind of theater-based actors.
Which is strange, because Wendy's usually so difficult to get along
I
with.
know.
isn't she?
She's Wendy, I hope you're not watching this. What can I say?
It seems like you guys are too.
Yeah, we're very difficult.
I think what I love, just, like I said, I saw you last night, but you meld with the crowds, you talk to people. I mean, that says a lot, especially for us at the film festival and watching all this. It's not like you're back in your hotel room, even though your room is really nice.
I have a spectacular room. But this film festival, I have to say, there's something about this film. It has a very different. I've been to a lot of them. This has a really unique energy. I mean, this from every volunteer to who's ever running it to Patrick to everybody has such a pride in the area and the festival, and you just feel good to be a part of it. They make you feel so welcome.
And
It's
that's
really,
the thing. It's a culture. I compared it to the aloha spirit that we felt when we were in Hawaii. It's a culture that is so welcoming. And that aloha spirit, when we first began, our line producer, Deb Glazier, had said, it's tradition to do a blessing on the first day. And so she brought in this spiritual leader, Kumahina, and she did this blessing for us all, and we were so moved. I said, I want her in the movie. So we gave her an extra $250 and got her. And she's, in the beginning when she's singing at the funeral, at the memorial. But that kind of energy and spirit. So when you think of Sedona, which is a place of also kind of spirituality and heart, they are both environments that lead with their heart, and that's how I like to tell my stories. It's all about heart and passion.
Yes. Yeah, and you can feel it. You can feel it.
Definitely.
So I want to thank you both so much for being with us, Amy, Ray. It's just so wonderful to get to know you. I wish I could sit here all afternoon and just talk away. I feel like we have a lot to catch up on.
we could talk about New York, the Bronx, Queens.
Yeah, we could keep talking. Yeah. I don't want you to leave. You can't leave. I can call.
Yeah, call over to the hotel.
And see if
they're
you
willing
can
to keep
stay
me a couple of
there
more
another
days.
night. Would you stay?
Okay.
We should do a shout out to the Ambient Hotel because
the
they.
Ambiente.
Oh, Ambiente.
They've been,
Oh,
and
my
they have
gosh.
the same kind of pride
Yes.
that I'm speaking about. It just seems to be part
If
of
you
what's
ever
here.
come to Sedona
And you
can
can.
afford it, stay at the Ambiente.
Oh my God, it is just
It's just
amazing.
spectacular.
It's amazing. Head to toe,
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Even the valet guys.
Oh, they're
are just-
so.
right?
Yes, they're so warm and they're engaging. And
Yes.
anything, they're always, everybody's right there, but not in a.
They have to stop.
Okay.
All right,
Say goodnight, Gracie.
Good night, Gracie.
We can continue this again, but thank you so much for
Our
being
pleasure.
with us, and I look forward to either you staying
Or leaving. Or coming back.
Yes. All right,
Yeah.
so that's a promise, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
awesome. All right, we've got to wrap this session up, and we will be back with more film and fun from the Sedona International Film Festival. And please, if you follow us, #SIF30. We'll be back with more.